Well, boys and girls, I wonder if you missed Jam and Children's Church over the last few months. Lots of people in our church, older and younger, have missed both of these programs. And so over the next couple of weeks, we thought we would put some videos up to share with each of you so that you can learn how to follow Jesus and what it means to follow Jesus, even in these times when we can't really see each other very much. And we're going to think about heroes from Hebrews. In the book of Hebrews in the New Testament, there's a long list of heroes of our faith, people who followed God really faithfully, and they knew what it meant to live by faith. And so we're going to hear stories each week of how these people lived their lives for God. And each week we're also going to finish with a memory verse from Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. And it says this: "Now faith is being sure of what we hope for, and certain of what we do not see." What a great verse to learn. It's going to come up at the end of each video, and you can maybe challenge yourself to learn it over the next few weeks. Maybe even see if you can learn it faster than your brothers, sisters, or friends. And what a great thing it would be to come back together and for each of you who are watching to know that verse. A really powerful verse. For now, we're going to hear our first story about our first hero from Hebrews, and Naomi is going to bring that. It's about a man called Abel. I wonder if you heard of him before. Let's check it out.
Good morning, boys and girls. This morning we are going to think a little bit about heroes from Hebrews, and we're going to think about one character in particular. And just to start us off, I'm going to read a verse to you from chapter 11 in Hebrews. I'm going to read verse 4. And it says, "By faith Abel offered to God a more acceptable sacrifice than Cain, through which he was condemned as righteous, God commending him by accepting his gifts. And through his faith, though he died, he still speaks." Now that all sounds very confusing, but maybe in there you recognise two names. They were brothers, Cain and Abel. And they're pretty special brothers, in fact, because their mum and dad, well, they're pretty famous. In fact, they're the first man and the first woman that we meet in the Bible. At the very start of Genesis, we meet Adam and Eve, and they were Cain and Abel's mum and dad. But before we think about that story, we're going to think about those brothers today. I want you to have a little think about what a hero is. If I say to you, who is your hero? Who would you think of? Would you think of a character like Spider-Man, or Batman, or Superman, or maybe you think a little bit closer to home. Maybe you think, well, my hero is really my mum, or my dad, or my brother, my auntie, my uncle, my granddad, my granny. Who would your hero be? Hopefully you've got somebody in your head. And I know I want you to have a little think about why they are your hero. Because we're going to think about Abel and why he was a hero that we can learn a little from. But I want you to think about your own hero and why they are your hero. A hero is someone whose attributes or their qualities, so somebody that the things about them are selfless or admirable. And that sounds confusing, but what that means is somebody that puts others first and puts others' needs first. And something about how they act or how they speak and how they treat others makes them quite heroic. So maybe you're thinking that Spider-Man is your hero because he saves cities from bad guys and he's able to spin webs. Or maybe you're thinking that it's your dad because even when he comes home from work and he's really tired, he still says he'll take you to play football. Whoever that person is, we're going to have a little think about our own here today, and this person was Abel. Now, I've already told you that Cain and Abel were brothers and that their mum and dad were Adam and Eve. Well, these boys, they grew up, and Abel in particular really loved animals. And he became, so much so that he became a shepherd whenever he was older, taking care of sheep. And Cain, well, he didn't really like animals so much, but he was a really good farmer, and he produced lots and lots of great crops and vegetables. And these boys, they followed God. Their mum and dad had taught them lots about God. And way back when Cain and Abel were alive in the Old Testament, so right at the front of my Bible, people, whenever they were showing God how much they loved him, they offered him sacrifices. Now that sounds a little bit confusing, but it's a word that we hear a lot in the Bible about sacrifice. And what that really meant in the Old Testament was that people gave up something very, very precious to them and they offered it to God. Why did they do that? Well, they did that to show God just exactly how much they loved him, that they were willing to give up something really precious to them and give it over to him. And well, that happened in this story. As I said, Abel was a shepherd, and so his sacrifice that he made to God to show God how much he loved him, he went out to his field, he looked at all of his sheep, and he picked some of his very best sheep to give to God as a sacrifice. He didn't go out and pick the ugliest sheep, or a sheep with a broken leg, or a sheep that maybe wasn't even that clever. He picked his very best. And he loved them. And so he was giving God something very, very precious of his and giving it as a sacrifice to show God how much he loved him. Well, Cain, I told you he was a farmer, and he produced lots of delicious food to keep their family healthy and strong. But he was a little bit sneaky, and he thought, well, I don't really want to give God my very best crops or vegetables, and instead, well, I want to eat them instead. They're for me. But I tell you what, I'll give God the smelly vegetables. The ones that are, well, they're not so good anymore. I'll give those to God, and sure, no one will ever know, and I'll just keep these for myself. And well, what do you think God thought of those two sacrifices? If Cain was giving God smelly vegetables, did that really show God how much that he loved him? Was that a true sacrifice? Well, God was so pleased with Abel, so pleased that he was able to give something very precious, his sheep, to him. With Cain, well, he was sad. He was sad because he knew that because Cain had only given him smelly vegetables, well, it showed God a lot about Cain's heart. That in here, well, he really wasn't trying to love God and offer and thank God and give him sacrifices in the way that he should have been. Well, Cain, the farmer with the smelly vegetables, well, he was really angry with Abel. He was really angry that God was more pleased with his sacrifice. And in fact, he was so angry and so jealous that he killed Abel. Can you imagine getting so angry with your brother that he killed him? And you know what? He was even more silly than that, because he killed him and thought that no one was going to find out. His mum and dad, Adam and Eve, said, "Where is Abel gone to?" And Cain pretended that he didn't know. Said, "I don't know." But do you think that God knew? Well, God asked him, "Cain, what have you done?" I wonder how you think that Cain felt. Did he feel bad? Well, it's a sad ending to our story, isn't it? Because Cain made a very poor choice. But just like it said in the verse that I read at the start, even though Abel is gone, and even though we can't talk to Abel now, we can learn a lot about what he did, and a lot about how he sacrificed to God. Because we said that sacrifice is giving over something really precious to us. And he gave his very best sheep, and that showed God exactly how much that he loved him. And I think that that's a really good challenge for us this week. I'm wondering if this week you can think about things or maybe people that are really precious to you. I wonder, do you have a really, really special toy or a really, really special Xbox game or an outdoor toy or something that you know that you love to take care of and you don't really like anybody else using it? I wonder this week, could you sacrifice and share that with a brother or a sister or a friend? I wonder if you're a little bit older and you know that you've maybe missed time in jam and in church and meeting with other friends maybe that love Jesus, but you know that you should be trying to show Jesus that you love him by even just talking to him every day. I wonder this week, could you take 2 minutes every day to talk to God and make a sacrifice of your time? I want you this week to think about the hero of Abel. He had a very angry brother, but showed God with his whole heart how much that he loved him, and he made a sacrifice. I wonder this week, can you choose to do one thing, or maybe one thing every day, where you can show God just how much you love him?